Hello students, let's talk about Series Parallel Lab number 17. I wanted to take just some time to talk about this particular lab and what we're going to do with it. There's some changes that we will make. One of the first things I want to bring your attention to is we're going to cut this voltage into half. We're going to change this to 6 volts just for ease purposes because I'll be using a 6 volt source on that. The other thing is that when I get to a series parallel, I do a straight line extraction. So I redraw this into a circuit that is easy to identify and understand what each component part is doing. So that's what we're going to do here. Is I've got R1 here, and R1 is series by itself for the whole circuit, and then I've got R2 here. And then if we look, we see that R3 and R4 are in series. And those two resistors are in parallel with R2. So let's just put a number here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's also put some labels here that they're talking about test points. Test point A is here. A is right here. Sorry about that. A is right there. And then test point B is between 1 and 2. So this is test point B. And then test point C is over here. And test point C and B electrically are the same point. This is test point D. And then we have test point E. And test point E is, we're going to get rid of this diode too. Test point E is the negative end of the power supply, which is right here. And that's going to be E. And so my power supply, you know, if I put a power supply here, plus and minus here, plus would go here, minus would go here. So that's what my power supply would look like, and we're changing that to 6 volts because I have a lantern battery here to use. And then we see the output, we're just calling this V out. So that's how I identified the circuit. So I've drawn this in a straight line just because it makes it easier to build the circuit the way it looks. Now you don't have to do this, you could build it just the way it looks like here schematically. But I think that sort of simplifies that. So what I've done here, this is R1 here, R2 right below it, 3 and 4 here. And so let's take a look and see what we get here. So we're going to attach the plus and minus. I'm going to use the bus lines here. As you can see the top, I have bus to the red bus line here, which is labeled positive. And I'll zoom on that in just a second. And then the negative we'll use right here. It's the blue bus line. Okay, so let's just zoom in on my circuit just real quick so you can look and see my circuit there. We have R1, 2 over here, 3 and 4. And so point A, point B is here or here. V out is here. And VC we put at the top of 3, so that's BC right there. D is also V out here. Then VE is at the bottom of the circuit here. Okay, so we're going to do that. Let's take some look here and see what we're going to do. And just for your lab, what you need to do is just use the answers that I have here that we're going to see here in just a second. So we're going to measure voltage at point A, which is right there. And the voltage at point A should be, it's across the whole circuit, so we should see 6 volts here. And I'll put my meter here. Let's zoom out just a little bit here. Whoops, that's the wrong way. .52 at VA. So voltage at point A. If you can look here at the ears, this is going to be point A. We're going to change this to 6.52. I think is what we read here. So I'm just writing that down there, 6.52. So point B is below R1. So there's B. If look at my circuit here. I'm reading 3.07. And we'll write that down here. Zero there. Make sure we use our unit of measure sign there for volts. Now C is the same location as B. If we just jump over here, and that's point C, and that's what it looks like schematically, and we're reading the same thing there. And then we're going to point D, which is the same as V out, which is the bottom of R3. And we are reading 1.84. And then we are going to go to point D, which is the lowest part of or the most negative part of the circuit, and that's where ground is also. And so there we read 0 volts, which is what we should expect. Okay. So the one thing that I would add is I would schematically make sure I have my ground point there identified here. What it looks like in this drawing, this part here is also going to be ground. In other words, when I go to point A, B, C, D, E, is all those are reference reading, and what are we referencing to? We're referencing that to what we are calling common ground. So basically the answers we're looking for voltage at A, B, C, D, and D are right here. And I just want to demonstrate that to you so you could see what those answers would be, and then you can take some time to fill out the rest of the lab. Hopefully this helps, and I look forward to seeing you in class.